This is Dabu7. I want to talk about the stock market here and the economy, where it's sitting, and some things we're seeing that we haven't seen since the last financial crisis. And this is important because I want to try to paint a picture here and make it clear what's going on for all the people out there that may not even be involved in stocks or the stock market, may not keep a bead on the economy, but you know it's important. I want people to understand where we're at right now. This is very, very important. Now, you may be hearing reports out there that the Dow closed above 18,000 on Monday for the first time since July. Some people will think that's great news. And I truly wish that it was, but it's not. What we have here is an illusion that is being painted by the same people that are actually going into default. This is a bubble being created right before your very eyes, and it will pop. And the scary part about this, at this point, is I am witnessing, for the first time here in years, many big companies folding, filing for bankruptcy. Now, in the past, you would see a lot of mainstream media outlets reporting on companies shutting down shop or filing for bankruptcy. But there's so many at this point, and many of them coming from the United States, that we're not hearing too much about any of it. Now, last week I put out a video in regards to DB Bank admitting that they had rigged the gold markets. They rigged the silver markets. They admitted this, and they turned. Now, what do you think happens in a cartel when people turn? If you can't eliminate them before they let the cat out of the bag, you and all your men are going to go down. So you take all the money and run, which is what they do all the time, tucking away their money in offshore accounts. And what's happening right now is we have a series of companies, 46 companies, that have defaulted on their debt so far this year. That is the highest level since 2009. Now, according to the S&P rating services, 5 companies have defaulted this week. And this includes the New Jersey-based specialty company Vertellus Specialties and the Ohio-based iron ore producer Cliffs Natural. Now, of these 46 companies worldwide, 37 of them are based in the United States. The coal producer Peabody Energy and the surfwear seller Pacific Sunwear both had filed for bankruptcy protection this week. Peabody stock has dropped 97% in the past year to $2 a share, while Pacific Sunwear here, it is off 98%. It's dropped to 4 cents a share. And they're saying that a lot of these companies are falling on hard times. So why are we seeing a spike in the stocks? Why are they soaring? It's because these same individuals that are filing for bankruptcy are buying them back. It is an illusion because many of them have their assets based on that stock, and they wanted to see that price stock go up. And even if it's them or their cohorts purchasing this stock back, it's going to make it rise and make it look like it's worth more than what it really is. While at the same time, in the shadows, these companies are filing for bankruptcy. So they buy back all the stock, you see. It inflates the price. But then guess what? Then they cash it out. There's a sell-off. They try to get as much money as they can and get it to offshore accounts. And then they go bankrupt. And then every person that had invested in this, it's like a landmine. It explodes. And those individuals that had invested to make these companies what they are and put them where they're at, they lose out. All those people lose out. Now, the average rating on U.S. corporate debt has now fallen to a B be, which is already lower than it was at any point during the last financial crisis. You can see on this graph in 2009 how many U.S. companies had defaulted. And you can see already here in 2016, we're on pace to smash that. That is the reality. So what does this mean with all of these companies going bankrupt, shutting down shop? Banks are going to fall in line, just like J.P. Morgan Chase had done the same thing, filing for bankruptcy and no one seeing it coming. This will affect what they do even with ATMs, limiting the cash that can be dispensed until they run out, until they completely fold. And what happened to all the money in the end? You guessed it. It's in them offshore accounts. And what happens here? Those banks, those companies fold. People lose out on their stock, all their investment. And then when all of them come crashing down, that's the true trigger for economic collapse, in my opinion. And it's all written right here in front of you if you're paying attention. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And here we can see, just by the numbers and where everything's heading, that this is not going in a good direction. And it really looks like the edge of the cliff is not too far off. Because if all these guys are buying back their stock, soaring up the price, it's an illusion, like I said. They're going to take all the money they can, and then what happens? They're going to do it in mass. I'm not so sure when it finally hits full scale if we've ever seen anything like this. This is the reality of where we're sitting. This isn't for fear. This isn't to scare anyone. And if it does, well, it's the reality of the world in which we live in. Where we're headed right now, when banks admit that they have been rigging the gold markets and the silver markets, and there's not even people in the street protesting about it, we have a huge problem. Instead, they're being led by the nose, I believe, in these staged events in the streets. They are rituals on the people. And the masses have been blinded in this world stage illusion. So what do we have now? You know, when I go and I talk to locals here and there throughout the past week or so, I've asked different people if what they thought about the stock market, if they're invested, and only found 1 out of 10 had anything to even do with the stock market. But most people knew that the economy and the stock market was important to everything that we're doing here on a daily basis in this country, how we're living, everyone's lifestyles, the cost of everything. But they don't know exactly how everything works. Well, the reality is this. It's a corrupt system. And the only way that these guys get to be billionaires the way that they are is because majority of the time they're taking from all these other people. You see, and that's where you get all this wealth in the hands of a few, and the rest around the globe are poor. So what could send this over the edge if we're right there on the edge, all these places going bankrupt? Stocks are going to plummet after this. You have to see this. They're buying it up, and it's making it look like their stock's rising, like it's like everyone's buying in, and it's not the truth. It's an illusion. It's hollow. You see, and it will collapse. It will. There will be nothing there. They took it all and ran. This is what's coming in mass around the corner. And if you pay attention to the world stage, China is set later this fall to enter into the world currency basket, the IMF basket. And when that happens, and you can see even a headline right here, Peter Schiff, of all people, China aims financial nuke at America. When they drop their currency in that basket, all the other countries that have been on the fence and that will no longer feel threatened, so to speak, will jump on with Russia and China. And isn't it just a coincidence that Russia and China are now seeking to dominate gold trade and to set up their own platform. They want to create their own joint platform that would unite gold trading by the world's two biggest gold buying countries, Russia and China. They want gold, not dollars. They said it best in Cannabis' song. I'm honored that he featured me in that album. They laid it out there. The Chinese want gold. They do not want dollars or pounds, sterling notes. They want gold. And they're hoarding it. And in the end, our paper money will be worth nothing. And I'm telling you, when they throw their chip in the basket, it may be enough to send the pendulum swinging the other way. And when it comes back, it's going to be in the form of a wrecking ball that hits our economy. And it's going to be so frail that really, it's not going to take much to bring it down. But it's all been held up by illusion this whole time. So we've always known that when it comes, it's been scripted, it's been planned, and the signs you're going to have to watch for is just this. When they're going to grab all the money, trying to inflate all the stock, and everything that they're doing is illegal by definition. But there's so many loopholes that they try to work through and skip off to other countries and use offshore accounts that they've got it all rigged. So pay attention, folks. It's not going to be tomorrow, but down the road, especially heading into the end of this year and into 2017, things are going to change dramatically. When people look around and they see that their banks have been closed down, when these other big businesses are gone, no longer exist, some people are in for a rude awakening. But for those that are paying attention, this is where it sits in terms of true, real deal financial collapse. You've heard it so many times by so many people in headlines in the past. It could be right around the corner, financial collapse this, financial collapse that, so many times. But this time, all the numbers and the proof is in the pudding. These companies are folding. And 37 out of 46 so far just this year are coming from right here in the United States. So just think about that. And see where it sits. They're going to take the money and run. Y'all better get ready. Be wise. I'll leave a link. It's been Dabu7.